You said it's like kind of finding out passion and the future of everything.
Oh yeah,
Sounds so.
we're going live. Hold
We are
on.
live. Okay, we are live. Uh, there we are. Yeah, I can see myself. Good.
Live? Oh, we're live. Oh, okay. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. My name is Jake Sussman, and for those of you who don't know me, I am a dyslexic ADHD entrepreneur and founder of Superpower Consulting. We're a mentorship firm helping kids with dyslexia and ADHD have their own advocate, their own person that they can relate to. Now, since quarantine, I have been interviewing many different people from around the world, from parents to industry leaders to doctors to business leaders, and also people like you and I. We all have at least one thing in common, though. We all learn differently. Now, I got someone pretty awesome. Mads,
Yo,
welcome.
thank you.
So, Mads and I have met, for those of you who may not know Mads, Mads and I have met about a year ago, right,
Yeah.
Mads?
Yeah, you texted me randomly on Instagram.
Yeah. And so Mads is from Norway,
Yes.
and he has an incredible story. He's a professional animator and artist with dyslexia and dyscalculia,
Yes.
and travels around Europe advocating for those who are misunderstood. He's a promoter of art therapy. He loves mindfulness. He's found his own ways to hack his dyslexia to then create a better world. It's amazing. It's so cool. And I'm just so excited to introduce you to him. Mads, welcome.
Thank you
Welcome.
again. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What a
And
wonderful way to like hype me up. I love it.
you
Thank
know,
you.
I just have to say it's just always a blast to have you on board here. Um, now you have dyslexia and dyscalculia, right? And you're all the way out there in Norway. For those of you from Norway or from Europe, give us a shout, let us know, show us some love. Um, so Mads, I want you to let's dive in. So you're an artist. Like what does that mean? Like what do you do?
Well, I've been an artist my whole life. I always loved to draw. But what I specify, if you want to call it that, is capturing the feelings that individuals with learning differences, I like to call them, or neurodiverse brains, you can say, the feelings they feel and portray them visually. That's my favorite thing, and what I kind of made my whole work around. So, but of course, I draw other things as well. But
Yeah, man,
I feel like it's so important to visualize it when it's so internal.
Yeah.
And it has definitely been a massive asset for me to put it on the paper and kind of get it out, because that's how I communicate, that's how I express myself, and then get it out from me, but then in turn also getting it out for the people.
Ah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
art therapy right there, right?
Does anyone do art therapy? Let me know. I'm curious because I think we all have our own different sorts of art therapy.
100%.
But I also have my window open, so if you hear some background noise, you know.
You might hear some children from above, so that's
That
cool.
is the beauty of home quarantine living.
Yes.
Okay, so you're doing this art, and how has this impacted your dyslexia? Like, how has art and the finding of this passion impacted your dyslexia? Because we would talk with this for a while, and you're really onto something cool here. So, what is that?
Well, like you said in the beginning, like I hacked my dyslexia, so to say. That was all because of art. Because I was diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 11. Long story short, my mom has dyslexia, and of course, I had to fight the school system in order to get it. I was one of the first people in my school to be diagnosed, and it just clicked to me like, okay, I need to do something different than everyone else in my class. It's clearly that this doesn't work for me. What can I do? And the first thing that popped into my mind was the one thing I was doing all the time. I created a lot of fake Pokemon. That was like my
Fake Pokemon.
Fake Pokemon, yeah. That's my number one. At least was my number one form of expression. I love making these creatures, and they really reflected how I view the world. Some of them was very depressing, some of them very happy, depending on how I felt. And I always drew these drawings in school, in class, even though the teacher didn't like that. So it was, when I went home, I redraw them and put them into my decks, so to say. And I
you have any of them with you?
Yeah, I have them with me. Look at this.
Oh my God, yes.
So it's like, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like all different drawings, right? Of from when I was 5 to when I was 13, I made like loads of different ones. Loads. So this was my passion, my love, everything. And I realized I can use this to teach myself everything I need to do. So one, I had to fight my teachers to allow myself to like draw in class. Sometimes they took away my paper, they took away my pencil, and I drew on the desk. And after every session,
I take it away because you weren't. Did they think that you were being a distraction?
Yeah. They thought that I didn't pay attention, all of those things, So you always told like, oh, you need to pay attention. You can't draw in class. And I was like, no, I need to draw. This is how I learn. So I experimented and realized that I can use drawing as a way to, for example, when a teacher is writing something on the blackboard or the whiteboard, it is probably today, or whatever means they're using, I can't keep track. I'm sure you're the same. When they write something, you can't, and you try to copy it.
Yeah,
I'm lost.
right,
But
right.
if I made a drawing at the same time, I could tell you what was going on, what the teacher was talking about from looking at that picture. And I realized a couple of years ago, actually, that I found some pictures from when I was very, very young. And I remembered what was going on at that time just from looking at the pictures. So I started, I was 11 at this point, to develop this technique. Like, one, express how I felt I was depressed. I need to get my emotions out. That was one. But two, how can I optimize this? So I could draw random characters, random things, and I could use that as notes. And then later on, I realized I can use other people's art because I learned visually. And then I could, for example, use Tumblr or Instagram to like post and repost.
That must have helped you feel expressed too.
Yeah, oh, 100%, 100%. I need to express myself through art, and I've learned that over the years. If I don't do that, I get very depressed. I need to draw for me, and there was a period of time that I was so stuck in like work mode that I didn't draw for me. So I think the last 2 years now, I'm starting to draw for me again, and I have found so much creativity, and so happy.
Wow. Huh. Like, where do you see that? I want to just dive in for a second. Like, where do you see your, like, the next generation going with this, right? Because we talk for the next generation. That's our purpose. That's our mission. So where are we going with this? Like, where should we take education moving forward as a representative of the next generation?
I'm a big fan of the Montessori technique. Are you familiar with Montessori?
Yes.
Yes. So Montessori had this brilliant way of teaching, so to say, that everyone is capable, but they need to, some people are better at certain things and go deeper in certain things, right? And it works very well. And I think that is the thing that we should focus more on. Like, okay, Mads, he can draw a lot, he loves drawing, that's how he observes his world. How can he use that as a foundation to build, so he can learn more things that he's not so good at, but he can get better because he has the foundation of art, right? Comprehending oneself. And I think that, from experience, understanding how I think and how I feel and how I learn then helped me to be better at everything else. And I think that is essential for the next generation to try out. Of course, it takes time. Of course, it's not easy. Some people don't know what they're allowed to do. Some people feel like they don't have a passion or skill. But that's okay. Like, what you enjoy doing, exploring it further and further and further, because it's in my belief, in the exploration of comprehending how you work, right? How do you observe your world? When you learn how you see things and gain information, it should be easier, I think.
Do you think that art helped you learn how to read?
Yeah.
How did art help you learn how to read?
It's two things. One, I've read comics before I could read. And the way I did that, I read the drawings. I can read drawings and get emotions from the drawings, right? So when I actually learned to read, I found it boring because it didn't tell me enough information. Because the drawings told me so much more. That's one. But when I realized that, okay, I want to watch Japanese cartoons, anime, but I can't speak Japanese, and I'm not very good at English, but I want to watch it because it looks cool. So I realized, one, I understood a lot was going on just looking at the visuals, right? But my motivation for learning English was so I can watch Japanese cartoons. So because I did that, my reading skills improved and my English improved, and therefore also my Norwegian improved because I started reading. Because my intention was, I want to watch this cool show. And later I started making animations myself.
So interesting.
So, and again, it's the motivation, right? I don't have any motivation to read about Shakespeare, but I do want to watch this awesome show called Naruto. And I had the dictionary, the Norwegian English dictionary, and I stopped the episode every time the subtitle changed because I wanted to know what they were saying.
Wait a minute. Did you just say that you watched shows with subtitles on?
Yes, because they were speaking in Japanese. I couldn't speak Japanese.
So you got used to seeing the words though with the subtitles, and
yes,
whoa.
Because that was what's interesting to me. I couldn't rely on listening. I relied on watching the show, the visuals, but I didn't understand what's going on. The only way I could understand what was going on was if I read the subtitles. That was broken English.
That's so funny you said that. I learned how to read by also like the subtitles. And parents, let me know about this because this worked for Mads and I know this worked for some other kids. Watching shows and movies with subtitles gets us familiar with the words. We see the words, we can hear the word, we see it in action, but then we also can read it in front. Now that's very, very interesting because kids love watching movies. They're engaging, they're stimulating.
Yes. I think, of course, everyone is different, but it's that motivation. You want to watch the movie, right? So you want to know what's going on, and then you start reading it because you're interested. I will give you a different example on that. Actually, I had a workshop a few years ago, and I had two girls come up to me and say, Mads, we can't read. We cannot read. I was like, okay, let's talk about that. We talked for a while, but at the same time, they were on Snapchat, right? So I asked them, like, are you chatting with your friends? Like, yeah, we are texting. I was like, so you are reading it then? Like, yeah. So you are reading it. I was like, they both look at each other. We can read. I'm like, yes, you can read, because their motivation for reading was talking to their friends, but they were thinking about reading as something related to school, and that they couldn't do. Right.
I actually, it's funny you said that, because I was asking a mentee, I was like, this one young man, he said, I hate learning. I was like, why do you hate school? Because I hate learning. And then I was like, he plays 2K, the video game. Like, he likes to play video games, and he likes to play
2K.
basketball. It's like basketball. It's a basketball video game. Okay. Oh, but he also loves to play basketball. Yeah. And I was like, so what is it about? Don't you learn basketball? How are you good at basketball? What is that thing that gets you better at basketball? You are learning new skills. So do you hate learning, or are you unbelievably triggered by what it represents in school, which are two very, very different things?
And of course, they related to that because, learning or reading, it's cool. But they don't recognize outside of school they are doing it.
That's where I think school and education, we're missing the boat.
Yes.
We're missing the boat because our kids are triggered. They're triggered.
Yeah.
Can't expect a kid to want to learn. How do you expect someone to learn? And they could be really smart, but they're not open to learning because they're so triggered by the word learning.
Yes.
But yet they love to learn how to get better at basketball, or to learn a new video game, or to, I don't know, whatever that they love.
And that's where I think, like, I always preach, okay, what do you like? How can you use that? Okay, you like basketball. Okay, how can you use that to learn English? Yeah. It's possible. It's possible. And but people don't, we never been taught or talked about this in school, right?
Right.
And they probably don't hear it from home either.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Very, very, very interesting stuff.
And there is the expression, right? Like, when you are excited, everything becomes easier. Because you are so like, I want to learn this. Like, I learn more English asking my dad to translate Pokemon names than I learned in school, from English in school. I remember, like, every single one I asked him, like, what does this mean? For example, I don't know how well you know Pokemon, but he
Charizard, Pikachu,
you know
Ash.
Mankey then? You know Mankey? Mankey?
Oh, that guy?
Yeah.
I don't know that guy.
Okay. Well, he looks like a ape pig, basically.
Okay.
And my dad translated it into like, oh yeah, his name is kind of like a monkey. I was like, that makes sense. He looks like a monkey. See, he looks like a monkey. Then that word was saved, you know?
Right. That's the visual representation.
Yes.
If we can associate an image, like this bike guy. Okay?
Bike guy, yeah.
Bike guy. What does this represent, right? Like, it's an image that I'm not going to forget. You know, that's a lot of things when it comes to memorization. We want to associate something to something tangible.
Yes.
You know, so you were able to visualize this Pokemon, which is a bizarre looking creature, and that is easier for you to remember. It's like, I was reading a book By the way, I recommend it to all of you. Okay, it's called the Power of Habit.
Oh, I need to write that down.
It's called The Power of Habit. And in this book, he gives an example, because for the longest time, habits have been very misunderstood. People used to always think that everything we do is made up of the highest percentage of our day is made up of decision making. But they're arguing that it's not decision making. Most of our day is made up by habits. Okay, so to understand, like, if we want to change something, we have to understand and reflect on the psychology behind habits versus just decision making. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, it gave this amazing story of this guy, okay, who was part of the medical breakthrough of the research behind habits. And there was this guy that had this disease that caused him to basically, the only way for this to change is they had to go into his brain, remove part of his brain, and but what happened was that he forgot everything prior. He would say every other hour would be a new hour. Like, let's say you and I are meeting for the first time and we met, and then an hour later, I'm introducing myself to you again. Okay. Yeah. So here's someone that was totally, he was totally dependent on other people because he didn't know where he was going. He had no idea. He forgot even his own wife. So then one day, this guy, him and his wife used to go for this walk every single morning. Every morning at 9 a.m. we'd go for a walk. It was a 3-mile walk. And one morning the wife wakes up, and he would be like walking around the room in the house. And one day the wife wakes up, he's gone. And she's freaking out because he's not going to know how to find his way back home. So he's going for a walk. No one knows where he is. The wife is checking in the rooms. And just as when she realized that he was out of the house, she panics.
Of course.
She's going to the neighbors. She's checking everywhere. Where is he? Where is he? Then all of a sudden she comes back inside and he's sitting on the couch with a pine cone.
Okay.
And the pine cone is important because what happened was that he went for a walk on his own and somehow found his way back. And this is a man that doesn't even remember his wife's name an hour later. So how is that possible? And what they're saying is that habit, because if someone were to say, where are you going? He's going to say, I have no idea. Where is your house? I have no idea. But yet he's walking directly inside. So I think it's really important for us to remember to take this in consideration, that what you're saying, Mads, with imagery could induce recall.
100%.
You know, and to have something associated to. So he was able to find his way back without knowing where he was going due to habit. So I think what we need to look at with our kids, perhaps it's less about decision making, but maybe about what are your habits like? Like I'm talking about, we brush our teeth, that's a habit. What do you do the first thing in the morning? Whatever you do, that's a habit. Taking a shower, even eating breakfast is a habit.
You see it, you know, when we meet the client or the mentee for a consecutive amount of times, it becomes a habit to them, and they're like looking forward to it. At least my client does that. They're like, oh, it's you. Let's talk. Like, it's almost like I can't say hello to them because they want to share something so quickly the moment they see me, because they get so excited.
Yeah.
Habit.
But
that goes all the way around as well. I think that's very important to notice, right? Like, what are you saying to yourself or doing to yourself that is negatively affecting your life as well?
There are negative habits, 1,000%.
And arguably, those are even harder to get out of.
Right.
Because they are often very long habits, right?
Right.
And it's like, I do this all the time. I'm obsessed with like changing how I view myself and how I learn. And then recognizing patterns, good and bad, and changing those patterns. But most people don't want to do that.
Well, I think what you've identified, and a lot of people go to the fix. You see, and that's why mentorship is so cool. But I think as a society, we have to rethink this because, you know, we have another mentee. She's a freshman in college, and she's really struggling. Depression, right? She's got some anxieties, right, which are impacting her eating, and she has different things that she's triggering, right? So perhaps instead of looking at this as like just like there's something wrong with her, maybe we have to focus on the habit that she's gotten herself into and find another habit, because she's still going to have the urge. It's like if you binge eat, right? You're going to have the urge to still want to do it, but we have to change the trigger. Instead of being triggered to eat more, you're triggered to go for a run.
100%. And it's the process, at least from my own journey, it's like, how do you need to be aware of that. What is the thing that has become a habit for you? What triggers the habit? And how can you then implement new, stronger, and better habits? Right. And take responsibility for like, okay, I got myself into this situation. How can I get myself out of it? Because people like to give away their, what's the word? Their power, so to say, right? Yeah. But if you don't want to change, if you don't want to work on yourself, if you don't want to learn, it's going to be difficult. Right?
Right. Well, that's if you tell yourself you don't want to learn.
Exactly. Which that goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. Like, if you do something that you find interesting, basketball, trains, drawing, whatever, and then make that a habit of every time you have a negative whatever, how can you implement a good learning strategy? For example, listening to audiobooks while playing with trains, for example, you know?
That's what I used to do. Right.
That's what I used to do with drawing, you know?
Right.
Because now you're using something that you are comfortable with as a foundation to learn something that you potentially wouldn't learn in school, but because you are in an environment, both physically and mentally, now.
Right. I mean, I think it's interesting because I used to spend hours on my trains and hours. And there are sometimes even music. Yes. I used to be obsessed with Coldplay. So like certain Coldplay songs would play and it immediately takes me back to when I was in middle school building my train set. But so I would listen to these books also. And it's funny because I was so triggered by reading, but because I got into the stories, I was so into the stories, I wanted so badly to know what was next that I didn't even think twice. I picked up the book and wanted to just keep reading.
Yes.
Yeah, it started with audio.
Yes.
It started with audio. And I think there's really something to say about, you know what? Everyone has strategies. Everyone has ways, different methods. But if everyone learns differently, sometimes we have to say, you know what? This could be the most credited method out there. But you know what? If something is not working, let's get creative.
Yes, that's exactly the thing.
I think, like, I am a huge advocate for evidence-based, science-backed methods. I am a huge advocate for it. At the same time, I think we have to recognize there's a creative element to it.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important to remember that the things that are evidence-based right now didn't used to in the past, and we develop new ideas, new theories, new methods all the time, right?
It wasn't always, it didn't start as evidence-based.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think our world is a little bit rigid right now in terms of like, oh no, we can't go outside of this box. I have this metaphor saying like, okay, we have a box, and we have a box outside the box that tries to get people back into the first box.
Yes.
But but the second box also acknowledge that, oh yeah, we don't need the first box yet. You need to be in that first box. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
No, I think that's very interesting. What do you think about this, everyone? Like, for those of you watching, let us know. Like, we're diving in on this because we're at an inflection point. We are at an inflection point in education. Okay, with every great change in society, like with COVID, there was a mass societal change that happened like this. Companies were making 10 years worth of decisions in a matter of a month. Okay, so we are at an inflection point in education. You have witnessed your kids in ways that you may have never before. So I believe, and Mads, this is what we're talking about. Where's the future going for our kids?
Yeah. Such a big
Like,
question, yeah. But I think it needs to go on, go on.
go, no, you go.
No, I think it needs to acknowledge, as we just said, the creative aspects and allowing them to explore, allowing them to recognize. For example, now with the whole Zoom classes things, some students are flourishing more than ever. Others absolutely despise it, and it's very fascinating. I try to talk to people as much as possible. Like, okay, why does this not work? Why doesn't it work for you? And many people that say it doesn't work for them is like, but I need the environment to keep my attention. When I'm at home, I loses focus, you know. But then you have the people who says the exact opposite. Like when I'm in the classroom or in the workspace, there's so much distraction that I can't focus, you know. And
Right.
we already see this in many companies that says, oh yeah, we're gonna have a model now that we only are at the workplace maybe twice a week. Rest is at home if that's what you want, because they're seeing the benefit of it, right?
Right. Ashley just said something very interesting, by the way. Ashley's on with us. That's
Yes, I agree with that.
so Ashley says, but remember that the educational establishment is entrenched in their position and will not change easily. Parents
Exactly.
must unite to make real change. Part of the issue is changing ideology.
Yes, 100%. It's a lot of one, the money talk. That's one. And two, but we have done it this way for a long time. We're going to keep doing it this way, I mean.
You know, I think I'm gonna add to that, Ashley. I think it's the parents must unite, but most importantly, the kids.
Yes. They need to stand up for
Because
themselves.
the kids need, we have to teach the kids. If we don't teach the kids how to have a voice at the youngest of ages, not in a disrespectful way. Again, this is, I mean, if you were to talk this conversation 30, 40 years ago, you don't talk back to authority. You don't do that. And I think we as adults we have a chance to teach the next generation how to respectfully communicate to authority an opinion that may be in a different way. Okay. Um, so that's, if we can teach our kids how to have that voice, okay, because again, kids don't vote. All right. In America, kids don't vote.
Do they do
So
it anywhere in the world? Do they vote
I don't
anywhere?
think anywhere. I don't think anywhere. I don't think anywhere. And I'm not about to go down that rabbit hole of should be allowed to vote or not. But the point is that they're being directly impacted, and if they can know, then we can actually have that conversation because they're the ones experiencing it now. I think that a lot of their behaviors that we're seeing are coming as a result of the thing.
There's a lot of fear out there, like for standing up to teachers, parents, and other people as well.
Yeah, yeah, and also,
Afraid. Go on, go on.
yeah, she's saying that bear in mind how many are voiceless. Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. And that's, by the way, for all of you watching, we have a responsibility, not Mads and I, but you. Because true change comes not by one person, not by a few big people that have a voice on a mass scale. Okay, it starts by one. I'll give you a quick story that my dad told me. Okay, you have a story of this father and son walking on a beach. They're walking on a beach, and all of a sudden, there's these hundreds and hundreds of starfish. Okay, on the beach, and they're dying because they've been washed ashore. Hundreds of them.
Mm.
And the son looks around and he reaches down and he picks up this starfish and he throws it in.
He
Walking.
said amen to that.
Son picks up another starfish, throws it in. The dad looks at him and is like, "What are you doing? You can't save all of them."
Mm.
The son reaches down, picks up another starfish, and he said, "You know what? I made a difference for this one." Throws it in.
Exactly.
So while we can't change everyone, start with one conversation.
And listening is a huge part of that.
Why?
Why? Because who are you listening to? You know, there are people who benefit from this conversation, but they're not here. They're listening to the Kardashian or whatever. But you need to come to a conclusion like, how can I change? Right?
Yeah, I think it goes to what does it mean to listen? Like,
Yeah,
how does one listen? Because we can listen to many through many lenses.
absolutely. Absolutely. But like I said earlier, there are many people who, one, they doesn't listen to themselves. So they, when you don't recognize, like, again, what are your outlets, for example, and just goes with the flow, like, oh, I've been told this, so I can't go the other way, or I'm afraid that, what if the teacher tells me that I can't do something? Many are afraid, right?
Yeah.
And it's, we need to make them aware, or everyone has to teach. We have to teach people to be aware of where they put their attention, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can get on board with that one. I can get on board with that one. So, oh wait, Ashley just said something. I'm gonna see what she said. You ready? So
Go on.
Ashley says, a friend said yesterday, why would you accept criticism from someone to whom you wouldn't go to for advice? If you have concerns that their critique is valid, go for a reality check with someone you trust to tell it to you straight, but otherwise let that crap go.
It's so important. And to add to that, I talk to many kids. They're recognizing that yeah, what my teacher or my parent are doing isn't working for me, but they don't listen either way. They are in the habit of thinking that no one is listening to them, no one is helping them.
Habit, right?
Yes. And then they give up. And I get a lot of people like, what do I do? I've given up. Well, you need to start to acknowledging why you're giving up, and what can you do, that what makes you happy, you know? If
Yeah,
you like trains, go and play with trains. And then starting to listen to yourself instead, because people, like, everyone, I know you have, I have, when you do something outside the norm, you will get hate, right? It's difficult, but you could have chosen to listen to those people, right? And you wouldn't be here today, but you chose to listen to yourself instead, or someone who matched what you will want to be, right?
right, right. isn't that, I mean, that's a discussion on fear also, right?
Oh,
Because I love that too, because it's like, you can't be stubborn. Like a lot of people say, oh, go out there and chase your dreams and don't listen to anyone hold you back. No naysayers, right? No naysayers. I think it's counterproductive to say, don't listen to the naysayers. I actually disagree with that. I disagree with that because the naysayers have an important role in the growth of someone.
Yes.
It keeps you kind of on your toes. I think it keeps you thinking, right? Exactly. If someone's a naysayer, I believe that it's on the communicator, the person making the request. It's on, if you have an idea, a business idea, or if you want to do something or achieve something, I think that if there is the other person misunderstands you, comes
or
out,
you misunderstand them.
Right. But I think as the communicator, it's the more pressure is on the person making the request than the receiver, because you can't control what they hear. Exactly. But you can't control what comes out of your mouth. So if there was a big miscommunication, let's say we're in an IEP meeting, okay? We're in an IEP meeting and everything goes downhill. Like things are hitting the fan left and right? And meanwhile, you as the parent gets triggered and you're now flipping out on the school. Everything just turns into a disaster, right? If you're in that IEP meeting, recognizing that all of these parents, these are people, right? It's sad. I am not saying, and there are bad apples out there. But what I'm saying is, what can we do as communicators to alter what we know in a way that someone like a teacher in an IEP meeting that really is overworked, overwhelmed, overstressed because they have 25 other students they're dealing with and can't possibly focus all that attention on that child, right?
100%.
Or the school, I mean, if the school's not providing funding, that's a whole nother ballgame. I'm not talking about the legalities of what they should be doing. I'm just talking about when a human being doesn't agree or thinks that the student needs to be disciplined more or whatever, right? So that's someone's opinion.
100%.
And if they think they're right, how do we change that as communicators?
Well, here's the thing though. Can you change it? Is it your job to change it? Because, or is it your job to, I like to think about that as giving, the word, planting a seed, Nice. Planting a seed. Because I've tried to change people. It doesn't work because they don't see it from their perspective, right? But you can give them some sort of information and they can let it be behind their behind the back, in the back of their head, and then eventually it will evolve, right? But you need to communicate it, as you said. You need to communicate it in a way that they understand,
right?
And that means sometimes I like this metaphor a lot. I think
love metaphors.
Huh? I
love metaphors.
I think I told this one before. When I talk to people, I envision it like, okay, I am visiting a planet. I'm entering the planet and I have choices.
Okay.
I can be a diplomat.
Okay.
I can be an explorer, or I can go into war, right? What do I choose will massively change the future of that planet. If I go in an explorer, I gain more information to oh, is this how your world works? Oh, we do it differently back in my world. What can I do because I have information that will solve this problem, catastrophe. Thank you. But how can I tell you about it? And it's your intention what is your intention when you talk to another person, right?
Hmm.
I think it's massively powerful and something more people should be aware of. Now, of course, maybe it's difficult, but how we approach someone is not appreciated, but undervalued.
Oh,
Or
uh,
word.
no, it's underestimated. No,
Thank you. Underestimated.
yes,
Yeah.
underestimated. Wow. See that? That's teamwork right there.
Because I can go in and attack your planet, right? Because I disagree with your action, thoughts, whatever, the way you do your planet. But I don't know anything about your planet other than I can see it from space. Like, oh, your planet is have yellow clouds. I don't like that. You know, you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe exactly.
No, I no, no, it's true though. I like that analogy because I think what you're saying is that when we enter a situation that's an uncharted territory of which there are many ways it can go.
Of
We
course.
go in as an explorer, we go in as a colonizing war general that's like, we're just going to plant our flag and whatever is your way no longer is valid. It's our way now. Or you go in as a diplomat, right? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
diplomat,
Yeah.
explorer. Yeah, yeah.
I would say a diplomat probably makes the most sense. Which one would you pick?
Personally, I will pick explorer first.
Ooh, okay, I like this. Okay, why? And for those of you watching, what would you pick? Would you rather
Yeah.
pick? Would you rather be if you're going to a new planet, right? Any option that you pick is going to alter the history of this planet. And there's an analogy for this because this is going to be like when you're going to a school IEP meeting. Okay, so if you're just tuning in with us, like, what are you guys talking about? Why are you in space? So, three options. You're an explorer, where you just are information gathering and you're seeking things and you're just being curious without making actionable steps. You're just exploring. You're a diplomat, where you set up shop, you represent where you came from, but you work hand in hand with the other people. Or am I saying it wrong? You say it.
Oh,
If I'm
I just love Ashley's comment. That's all.
Oh, thanks. All right, I don't have to explain it, Ashley. Okay, so explore, diplomat, or war. Okay, go. I take a long time explaining things.
Oh, you did good. The reason why I want to be an explorer is because I'm very fascinated by people, and I want to acknowledge them. If I acknowledge their world, they are more likely to acknowledge my world, and the more I understand how their world operates, the more accurate feedback or support can I give, right? And I can learn something as well because I'm open to like, wow, I haven't seen this way of doing things before. I can learn something with that. And then the conversation can go in whatever direction, of course, but explore for sure. And that's how I approach like,
And do you remain an explorer?
yes, I'll probably turn a little more into diplomat, but I think to me it's very important to have this exchange because I don't want to, no matter, like, this is just my personal view. I believe any age has something to teach someone else, regardless of whatever, how old and whatever experience. There is some sort of knowledge, and it's very fun to turn it around and let that person share their knowledge with you, right?
Right.
Which roles? Loads of mastery, loads of exploration, and room for growth for both sides, right? So in that sense, yes, there is. I turn more into a diplomat, but I'm always explorer at heart.
Huh. That is one of the greatest analogies I think of all time.
Thank you.
It's so, it reminds me of the game of Risk, you know? Um,
Yes.
but oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So explorer. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like, I guess there's steps, right?
Yeah,
Because
no.
all of us have war in us. Like, we all can go to war, but that's not productive because then there's ego involved. There's like you versus me. And like, is that what we want to teach our kids? Right. So I think, well, you have to be an explorer in order to become a diplomat anyway. So like,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think in any situation, and we can go back to the IEP meeting, right? We can go back to even understanding your kids that have dyslexia or learning difference for the first time, right? Um, is that it's if we go in knowing the answers, like if you go in saying this is the way things are because of my own personal experience, and you're dealing with another human being, that's you trying to be a diplomat before you be an explorer.
Yes.
I love this. This is great
Thank
because
you.
I think parents and teachers have their experiences. You watching, like all of us, even you and I, Mads. It's like you come to the table with your background, the way you were raised, all of your history, all of your experiences, your successes, wins, losses, right? And I come a whole different experience. So
100%.
who are you to tell me that you have all the answers?
Exactly. Exactly. It's yeah, exactly. And I often say this to people who ask, how do I tell my teacher that I need support in a specific way? I've tried everything, they say. And I always say, okay, have you tried to communicate the way that the teacher
Right,
communicates?
right.
I think that is because we don't think about that, right? The like teacher looked at this like big, scary, this guy is going to war with me.
Yeah.
But how do you approach them yourself? And of course, that can be difficult, but
Great. That's a great lesson. It's such a great lesson. Wow. That's so good.
be able to flip it. Yeah. I think it's a great metaphor, a creative metaphor that goes back to the whole thing, right? How do you use your creativity to use as a drive force to learn more about whatever you need to learn about?
Yeah. That's really good. I love that. I love that. Wow. Well, this was this was fun. I think we made some strides. Definite strides. Um, do you have anything you would like to leave everyone with, just with some thoughts? Because like I know that you're successful now, like you've hacked your dyslexia, like you've been able to utilize it in a way that's brought you to success. So like what could be some advice you can leave our parents that are watching that could help them prepare their kids to learn how to hack their own dyslexia?
Well, I think you continuing on with your metaphor here is allow your child to be an explorer of its own world and visit that world, because there are sometimes, as you just said, there are we overwrite the child and how they view their world, and we maybe not always realize how the advice we are giving them is implemented into their world, because they may take your advice in a completely different way than you wanted them to take your advice on, right? And but you may be frustrated because, oh, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Actually, he might be, but in a very different way than you. um
Hmm.
that's one thing. But yeah, there are so many who doesn't allow their children to explore and experiment over time with ways they may learn something. And I would encourage you, because I know there are children out there that have given up, quote unquote, and they don't want to do things. But send your child onto swimming, horse riding, um, whatever, so they get some different experiences, and see if this for whatever you know, karate might be the one thing that changed its world, you know.
Such a good point.
I've many people told me like, oh, I found dancing and now I dance every time I do tests. I dance listening to the audiobooks, and then when I go to the test, I do a little dance move and I remember everything.
Right.
Because that's how that person work.
It's so good. It's like if you love basketball. Like I was talking to a kid yesterday who plays basketball, and he doesn't want to go to school. He literally didn't go to school yesterday.
Yeah.
So what if we were able to incorporate his learning in his basketball practice with like dribbling or like something, like maybe before you do homework, you dribble for a half hour and you just sweat,
Exactly.
like get in
Yeah.
that zone, and then you just go get the beat and you just like start doing it, right? I don't know, right?
Yeah. And it's like, you could even, you can find little basketballs, right? Take it with you to school, hold it, like, okay, maybe it calms you down. Maybe just holding this little basketball reminds you of that feeling, right? It can be as simple as that, because it's that feeling, oh, this is where I have my confidence, and I feel at home when I have this ball, so to say. But you need to experiment, and when you have experimented enough, you can evolve it. I often talk about how can you evolve your learning. And I don't know how much time we have, but uh, take an example. I recognized that when I listen to audiobooks and take a walk, I can take the same walk the day after without an audiobook and still listen to the audiobook. Why? Do you know why?
Why?
Because the information for me is different for people. The information for me is stored in the trees, in the house, on that road, and it reminds me of where I was in the audiobook when I take that path. I can go to the same tree, and I know what was talking about in like the Twilight books, the Harry Potter books, because I was there in that moment of time, right? Because it's visual for me. I evolved my learning in that sense. But I thought, can I take it further? Of course I can. So I started to walk with a book, right? Because I wanted to see, can I read better, since walking apparently worked for me. And
Seems very
yes,
safe. Okay.
it worked for me. Why did it work for me? Number one reason is that I got frustrated that I lost my point of reading, or I had to read it many times, right? But I can turn around and see I have moved. I was not where I started. I have moved. So I made progress. I made an illusion of progress from moving in space that made it easier for me to read. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. That is wild.
There is no limit to how you can experiment, and one thing can lead into another, right?
That's so good.
But if you're not allowed to do that, like I never acknowledge that I write the best when I'm flying, for whatever reason.
Me too.
I think I know why, because there is a time limit. Like, you know where you're going. There is nothing else you can do. You just relax and you just write.
No distractions.
Exactly. Fascinating.
I know I've heard of that before. Like authors would fly to Australia and they'll just write their whole book on that flight.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great way to live your life.
Yeah, it does.
The world. We'll work on the airplanes and then we'll just have fun in the destinations. Come on, tell me who wouldn't want to live that life. That's unbelievable.
Flat.
But do it.
Huh?
Want to do it with me? Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's do a business on flying business. But do you see what I mean? We need to allow ourselves to be creative enough to experiment with different ways of solving the problem or finding ways of learning, you know?
Right. That's so good. That's so good. Well, Mads, thank you so much for joining today.
My pleasure.
I just feel like that we always work on solving all of the biggest problems in education together. And
We just
what
need
y'all
more people.
think of Mads? Give Mads a little love. Send him a heart or something. Mads is doing some amazing work out in Norway, in England, and Europe, and raising awareness and just carrying the torch over there. It's not just an America thing. This is a global thing.
Absolutely, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah, well, Mads, thanks so much for joining again. Really, it was a pleasure.
Always, dude.
So much fun. And for everyone watching, thanks for taking your lunch break, dinner break, breakfast break, whatever break, watching this.
Whatever break.
And again, I do these live talks every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time and Thursdays at 12:30 p.m. Today was 12:30, but usually it's 12 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely make sure that you subscribe to get notifications whenever I go live. You can do that easily on the live channel on my Facebook page, and then it'll just send you a little alert whenever I go live. But this is all about sharing. This is what we got to do. It's how we change the world, one interview at a time. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.